Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome. We're going to do another Dream Realm boss guide updated for the new season now. We're going to go through as many comps as we can. Now, usually at the start of this video, oh, by the way, welcome to the channel. It's Excoundrel, AFK Journey here. Feel free to subscribe if you like the content. I'm going on holiday this next week, so my content might be a little bit sporadic. I will try and upload as much as I can to make sure we have some content coming out through the next week. Anything big that comes out, I'll try and cover and create a video when I'm out there. But yeah, so... Skyclops. Usually we kind of go through all of the skills from Skyclops, and we would look at all of the individual skills, and we can do that, but realistically, like, there's only one really important thing that you need to know, is that Skyclops does this big laser beam, and that big laser beam does a lot of damage, and for the most part, it's about protecting your team from that damage, and that's why Coco becomes incredibly important here. Because Coco acts as a way to reduce that team-wide damage from Skyclops, which gives your team the ability to survive a lot longer. You also have a bit of AoE damage to look into, so one of the things that actually that sort of supports on Skyclops better than other builds, or better than other sort of heroes in the game, is having some kind of AoE damage. So I'm going to show you a couple of comps that can deal with that. And essentially, yeah, other than that, it's not a huge amount of skills that you need to be super aware of. There's nothing that you've got to plan for specifically, realistically, in this fight. It's very much just a simple case of have damage protection. I can see that the Skyclops also has magic charms, which is crazy, which means we'll have potentially have Dream Realm bosses that have magic charms equipped, which is going to be kind of interesting. But look, let's dive into a couple of comps that are potentially going to work here. The first of which is this one here. This is, again, a REINIER comp. Now, if you don't have REINIER at Mythic Plus, I would say there's not that much value in running REINIER in this comp. Just simply because he's really only there for the 25% boss damage in Skyclops. If you don't have REINIER at Mythic Plus, not much point running him, but I will show you some comps that can potentially run without REINIER later on. Right, so with Odie being our primary carry, he does stack Crescent Spell relatively well, so we're going to go with Crescent Spell for the time being. The other spell that is generally best at the moment for Dream Realm is Evocation Spell, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. We're going to run with Crescent Spell for the time being and see how far we do. In these videos, what we tend to do is I'll show you the first fight all the way through just so you can kind of see the fight in more detail. But for the most part, what we're going to do is every comp we are going to pause at the start and come back towards the end just to see where we land in terms of damage numbers. This is going to be setting a benchmark for damage numbers today. This is a very strong comp for this boss. The only change that I potentially could make would be to replace Thorin with something like Marilee. But ultimately, you know, we're going to set a benchmark with ideally one of the best comps in the game for this. And this is going to be, again, I think because I've obviously leveled up quite a lot, I've pushed my my damage a significant amount since the last time that Skyclops ran around. The reason I also like Thorin is he generally tends to hit all of the summons with his ultimate, which, when you're running these more single target focused damage carries, sometimes it can be very difficult to actually get them to hit those summons when they come through. Like here, it takes a little while at times to get these summons to go down. Odie is pretty good at getting them to go down, but you can see it does absorb a lot of time to somehow get these summons down sometimes. But hey, we are up at 3 billion. Yeah. 3.15 billion damage. So pretty good benchmark to have, which puts me at rank 14 for the time being. So relatively, and look, for context, I usually end up somewhere between rank 10 and rank 20. I very rarely break the top 10. I have broken the top 10 on a few occasions, but very rarely break the top 10. So that's a good example of a comp that is quite standard and can work. What I'm now going to show you is a slightly different version where we are instead going to run Marilee. So what I'm going to do here is, as my commenters taught me, we can do this. REINIER is less important, so we're going to drop in the Marilee at 250. And then we're going to do this. Now, in this case, it's probably best to run Evocation Spell. The reason I like Evocation Spell is with Marilee, you get plus 10 crit. Marilee's entire hero focus is increasing her critical strike damage, so it's a good addition. And realistically, like, it will make a difference to Odie's damage, but you're bringing another greater source of damage coming from the Marilee here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause, and we will come back towards the end of the fight, maybe about 30 seconds out. So Coco at Mythic Plus here is going to help you like infinitely compared to anything else. Like the shield that she provides you really helps you get through that laser beam. Now, as you can see, with 2 DPS carries, we are pushing through these summons a little bit more readily. So we are probably pushing 3 billion damage right now, and we've got 20 seconds to go. Now, there will be another set of summons that spawn, which is going to reduce our damage output, but Marilee clears through them super quickly. So I think we are going to end up in a situation where we will be out damaging our previous attempt, which we have. We've outdone it by about 100 million. So there we go. We have an increase on our previous attempt, which has now put us at rank 13. So we've gone up on a single rank there from that attempt. This is probably I would say the gold standard comp for this boss. It's generally going to be the one that pushes you the furthest. But we're going to try now a slightly different comp. And the only reason this comp is going to work is because we are looking at it from a perspective of Cassadee being invested in. So there is no Smokey and Mirky. We are going to drop in Marilee. No, we're not going to drop in Marilee. We're going to drop in Cassadee. And we're also going to drop in Florabelle. Wherever Florabelle's. Now, I've been told, and I've never run this comp before, that this comp is a little RNG heavy. But we are going to give it our best shot. Right. Shall we see how we perform? My Cassadee is, I believe, Supreme Plus. So we should get the magic reduction from her ultimate. Let's see how this goes. I think it's going to depend on how many people Cassadee can hit with her ultimate as well. We go on the front line. No healer here, remember. So it's going to be a lot about the shielding that Coco provides the team. Get through those relatively quickly. Florabelle's coming in. Basically, I think we're hoping for a strong Marilee wave to hit on as many people as physically possible, which is good. I'm excited. I'm going to show you the whole fight on this one because I've never run this comp before, and it's interesting. That was a very, very, very good Florabelle ultimate because it cleared out everything pretty much instantaneously. Obviously, we also get a bit of lifesteal from the evocation buff at times. Not the best time for a Florabelle ultimate. Cassadee's getting dropped down pretty low here, but see how much health she can regenerate. Coco's ultimate buff is keeping everybody alive for the time being, which is pretty good. And actually, something that's interesting is that we haven't really needed Smokey and Mirky. That's a big, big ultimate, but there we go. Cassadee's finally down. We're pushing a relatively decent amount of damage here. Whether we beat the Marilee, I'm just not sure. It looks like it's going to be similar territory, realistically. And yeah, I think that's the case. So it's still a very, very respectable performance, but ultimately I think like you need more investment in that comp than you would otherwise have from a sort of more standard point of view. So still worth it, still worth a look at it, and definitely had its performance bonuses, but I still think not really touching the Marilee and REINIER comp. Let's have a look at some more comps now, so you can potentially have a look at some sort of comps without REINIER as well. That's going to be the most important thing. I've shown you a few comps that will work with REINIER. Let's maybe look at some comps that will work without REINIER now, because not everybody's going to have REINIER, and I want to show you the damage that you can do comparably. So you got to remember that my damage, my max damage so far, 94%, was with Marilee. I may even, if I pushed up some of my resonance levels, potentially even be able to push the boss past that. In fact, actually, do you know what's really interesting? Do you know what we should try, guys? Let's try doing the same thing as before, but instead of running Smokey and Mirky, let's run Marilee with Cassadee, right? So let's run Marilee with Cassadee here. Yeah, like this. And then let's switch out. So this is just a test. See if the damage that I can get from Marilee with Cassadee, and with the fact that we don't necessarily need healing here, we'll see if that can push past where we were previously. So let's see if this comp works out. Obviously, the problem that we're going to face primarily here is that my Marilee is going to jump out of my Cassadee's wave pretty much all the time. So we're going to lose a bit of the bonus there, but hopefully it won't be too much of a big deal. There's the Coco ult coming back through again. Come on, Cassadee. There we go. That's a nice cast. Hit before The Marilee jumped over, so that's good. We get through all of the summons pretty quickly. We are up to 2 billion damage. Just need to survive. There is, again, another nice hit from Cassadee. Going okay for the time being. We are reducing magic defense, which is obviously... Oh, no, my Coco's already gone. That is not a good look. I think we are going to all get absolutely obliterated on the next I-beam. Another... Yeah, so there's the eye. Yeah, we all got obliterated because the Coco went down. Maybe a world where we somehow put Cassadee at the front here. There's definitely potential there, but hey, look, we're going to ignore that one for the time being. That'll be for me to test off stream. I'm very close to beating the boss with that original comp. Let's jump into some non-REINIER comps now, guys, and let's have a look. So this is a pretty standard comp. There are two ways that you can approach this. We can run it with the Korin and the Marilee, or we can run it maybe with the Coco instead of the Korin. I'm going to try both just for you guys. Let's jump into this one. I'll jump back in towards the end of the fight here. This is Korin, Cassadee, Marilee, and Smokey and Mickey. Now, if you don't have Cassadee at a significant enough level to run this, then I would actually replace Cassadee for Coco, because I think that Cassadee is going to be your least useful hero if you don't have Cassadee at a relatively reasonable level. So I think, like, what I'm going to do is I will run it with Cassadee to see how we end up doing, and then if I don't, it will run it with Coco instead, just to see where we land. But, you know, already looking relatively reasonable for the time being. We have a lot of healing coming through from Smokey and Mickey. I think the problem that we're going to run into, unfortunately, is that we will eventually get laser beamed to death because we don't have the Coco. And that's one of the problems that you will face. Like yeah, like the entire team just got wiped out. So what I'm going to do now is, instead of Cassadee, is I'm going to run this with Coco. Still a reasonable amount of damage. 2.6 billion will put you in a, like, let's say I was running this. Shall I just go back and look where that would put you in the rankings? So 2.6 billion would, on my server, without this, would put you at rank 26, 27, which is very reasonable. Like that, you know, top 50 is a really great place to aim, because when you look at the rewards, where are they? Here. When you look at the rewards, you still get some temporal essence for a top 100, and you get 2 temporal essence for a top 50. So, you know, it's still pretty good, if I'm honest with you. Okay, so let's replace this with Coco, and this should be a little bit more effective. I'm just going to double check that I have got... I didn't quite make everybody the right level previously. Let's do this. This should be a bit more effective. In fact, I'm going to put Smokey and Mickey on the front line here. So this should hopefully give us a little bit more longevity. And this is actually the comp that I would suggest going for, because it uses core Dream Realm heroes that are very good. Coco on top is very important for survivability. You get 3 of the Maulers plus 2 of the Light Bearers, which is very similar to the one if you were running with Cassadee, where you were running 3 Light Bearers and 2 Maulers. So you're not really changing anything up too much. And even if you don't have Coco at Mythic Plus, you know, you should still get a decent amount of utility out of the damage reduction that her ultimate provides, which is that is the most important thing about Coco, as well as the fact that you get the lifesteal, which supports with the healing from Smokey and Mickey as well. So already looking pretty good. This is without REINIER at the end of the day. I still think Korin and Marilee have their place in a lot of these Dream Realm situations. Like, Marilee still proving to be an excellent addition. And actually, to be honest with you, you know, we're rivaling that 3 billion damage at this point in time. Don't think we will break our record, but I think we're going to hit 3 billion at the very least. Yeah, we did. So, like, without REINIER here, we beat our first attempt with this comp without REINIER, and 3.09 billion damage would put you, if you have a look at the rankings on my server, that would actually put you literally 2 ranks below me. So that would put you at rank 16. So that's without REINIER, and that shows you that the core heroes that you're using there are heroes that are just good in the current meta. Now, you know, there is a world where you might want to use Thorin, for instance, but you know, one of the big things that I have with one of the big issues that I have in general with this boss is that the survivability is much more of a problem, which is why I run the Coco. But nonetheless, hopefully there were some comps there that you guys can use, and hopefully you can push the ranks on Skyclops. I've given you a spread of comps that I think are relatively useful, so I will see you soon.